Hello again. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to try something new with this video. I like to make long, detailed videos. I don't know that everybody really likes that. So for this video, this is going to be the detailed version. If you want to see the Cliff's Notes version, click the link up there. I'll get it posted here shortly. Happy Labor Day. Hope you're all doing well. Well, today's the day, right? I need to do some maintenance on the 300. So, as you remember, we've got a boot leak. So we're going to get the tires off. We're going to pull the shaft. We're going to get into all that business. I do want to say before we get started, though, the way that the shaft comes apart, and I'll put a little image here on the screen that kind of shows what I'm talking about. But when the shaft, when you pull it apart, there's a C-clip, circlip. There's a clip in here, right? And this cup comes off, and you have to take this boot off, and then you have to take this, everything comes off from this side, right? So if it's the inner boot that you're planning on replacing, it's going to be much easier. If you're doing the outer boot, it's going to be a little more difficult, so I would suggest buying another one of these boots. So that brings up another question, right? Why am I going through the effort of replacing a boot rather than just replacing the shaft? It's been a while since I've done one. I did a bunch of them on vehicles, never done one on an ATV, so that's why I'm doing it. Just I want to get into it and experience the problem and solve it. But for you guys, you have a decision you need to make. Replace the shaft, much easier, much cheaper, probably if you're factoring in time. But yeah, let's get into it. All right, so as far as tools and stuff that you're going to need, we've got a replacement boot that comes with clips and some CV grease, well, Axel Grease, it's all the same, right? And then we've got this tool to tighten the bands down. I've never used one of these before. We always just use the cheap method, right? Use the vice grips to pull it tight, but we'll see how that works. I don't know if it's going to be worthwhile or not, and I'm going to have some extra grease on hand, just Axel grease. I mean, it's all the same, right? As long as this is Axel grease, these are axles, right? That's the thought. So let's get the tires off, start tearing everything down, and then I'll show you what's going on and give you some pointers along the way if I learn something. All right, got the tire off. First order of business is we're going to take the cotter pin out so we can get the castle nut off the axle. And then from there, we're going to pop the lower ball joint off, and if I have to, I'm going to pop the upper ball joint off. We'll see how much room we have, but that's the first order of business. Cotter pins out. Got a 22mm for the axle nut. Let's see if I can get this thing loose. Yeah, I'm going to grab air tools. Alright, let's try this again. Much better. Alright, so the ball joint, 17. And again, we're going to use an air hammer. Alright, so if you watch the ball joint replacement video from a foreman, you'll know what's going on here. But basically what we're going to do is, and keep in mind I'm not left-handed, so like you knew that, but I'm not. So what I typically do, just see if we can, no, ball joints are never going to come out. So really what you're going to do is you're just going to pound right here. And like I said, I'm not right or left-handed, so I got to get it at a bad angle. Let me switch it around here. That's all that's to it. Pretty sure it's going to be the same. Oh, we might be able to. I doubt it, but I don't think I'm that lucky. I think we're probably going to have to pull the upper off as well and just take this whole assembly and shift it aside. Oh, and at this point too, the whole drum assembly should slide right off without any problems. So I pulled that off just make a little bit more room. It doesn't look like we're going to get the play that we need to get the shaft out. So upper ball joint's got to come off. Yeah, I'm getting old. So yeah, she's loose. The parts truck just drove by. Nothing for me though. So just so you know, Honda knew that we were going to be pissed when the ball joint would spin, so they had this little spot for your 17 wrench to fit in there. So we'll just do that and zip her off, and then it's easy peasy, right? And then we just take her hammer, loosen her up. Everybody's happy. We're gonna hang our thing right here, pull our axle. So before we do this, before we pull the axle out, you should be aware you're going to lose some fluid. I don't know how much at this point, we're gonna find out. But make sure that you have some spare diff fluid on hand so that you can fill it back up before you put it all back together and ride it. So yeah, let's make a mess. Okay, so to pull the shaft, what you really want to do is you want a straight shot, right? You don't want this at an angle because you're pulling it down like this. So trying to get this out of the way, but the shock's in the way. So I think just to save my sanity, I'm going to pull this shock bolt and pivot this out of the way so I can pull the arm up out of the way too. That way I can yank it straight out instead of trying to get it at an angle, right? So I'm going to go pull this off. Looks like this one's also a 17, so very happy that I don't have to go back to the toolbox. So let me buzz this off real quick and we'll get that done. Losing air. That, get your pry bar out, pull the shock out of the way, make sure we don't lose the spacer. The shock's nice and tight, so that makes me happy. And that keeps this out of the way. And then, so this is the angle we're looking for. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. So I'm gonna there's that ring in the groove I was talking about to help keep it in the diff. All right. I would also recommend cleaning all the crap out of here and putting some grease on these seals to keep them moist. All right, here's where we're gonna get messy. So the way that these get installed is they get pinched here. Like I said before, we used to use side cutters to kind of pinch them together. I'm going to try and preserve these. I've got spares, but I like to have extra parts in case I need them, so I'm not going to break these. So I'm going to get a little screwdriver and see if I can start working this off and then start getting these connections out. So, no, the first one came off okay. Because the first one came off okay, this one's not because the camera's on. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it came out pretty easy. Not too shabby. All right, now peel back the boot. See how it's nice and dry right here? You want it nice and dry because if there's grease in there, there's a potential for these to shift, and then you get a twisted boot, and then it makes it much easier to tear. Working in the shop, most of them that I've seen, people reinstall them, they do a good job. I have seen a couple of messes, but, and yeah, Looks like the grease is relatively okay. It's old, but that's fine. We got new stuff. Take a look at the other side. Yep. I don't know if we can see that clip yet, but it's going to be down in here. Alright, I think I've got this cleaned out enough where you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So the other thing you should be aware of, that's normal. It's supposed to do that. Okay? So here's that ring that I was talking about. So you basically need to come in here and get this ring out, and once you get the ring out, then you can pull this cup off the shaft. So I'm going to do that. It looks like you can get in there with the screwdriver because we don't require any snap ring pliers. So we'll just set her down in the cup like this, come in here with our dirty hands, work this bad boy out. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Set this on my my trusty workbench here, and then yeah. So then we're gonna want to clean all this stuff out. We don't want any of the old grease in there. Clean the shaft off as well, and then once we clean all this stuff out, we'll work everything down. Well, I'll probably, yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so I got the grease cleaned out here, so we're going to take a snap ring pliers and pull this out, pull the clip out, and then we should be able to get this off. Sure enough, as soon as I turn the camera off, clip comes off. So now we got this bad boy, and you notice they are different. So that is the clip side, which goes to the diff, and this is towards the wheel. I just want to show you guys something. You see that right there? That makes a difference. I love seeing that in parts. Cup's clean, the shaft is clean. Now it's time to install the replacement boot. Yeah, it's pretty easy. So we're just going to slide the boot down and this on like that, and then we are going to hit it with some brake clean again because I want to make sure that this groove is completely clean. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this in place, and remember, here's our orientation, so we want the tab facing back so when it's rolling it's not catching, right? I don't know how much of a big deal that is, but I don't know, some people seem to care, so I'm going to as well. So I'm going to put the new clip on. So these rings look like they're pretty easy. You just give them a little tug ski like that. I need to go figure out how this tool works too. Okay, I think I figured it out. So to assemble this, you need to make sure you come through this groove. Right? And then this is kind of like a half moon shape, right? So you want that down because we're going to go underneath, because this is what's going to cut. Struggling, there we go. And then, so now that we're in there, we're going to feed it into this little wheel right here, like so. And we're going to, actually I probably should have spun this because it's going to be in my way. So then we just wind her up. So we're going to wind her up. And then you're going to get the mating surface, going to hook right on here. And we're going to give it a little kink right here in the fold. And hit the cutter. And then we're going to fold this over. And I'm going to go get my little hammer and just bang that down. And then we're going to pinch these over the top and hold her nice and tight. Fold our little tabs over. I'm happy with that. Okay, so we're nice and clean. If yours is not, clean it. Actually, I'm going to do it again, just because I don't want any problems. Brake clean action. Okay. And then we're going to cut our grease open. And we are going to that. And I'm going to try like heck to keep all this grease where it needs to be, which is inside the cup and the boot. And you're going to want to get all of it. Just going to give her a little turn ski and probably mess up my clean surface. It's going to feel like a lot of grease, and it is. It needs to be. Alright, so what you're going to find, and what I'm finding, is that it's really difficult to keep the grease off the cup. Probably going to want to use a vise to hold everything. I should probably get mine. But so what I've been doing is I cleaned all the grease out, and then I slipped the towel in between, right? So we're cleaning the rubber side and the metal side at the same time. And I've done this several times. And once I'm satisfied, we're going to clamp her down. Okay, so it looks like when they make these, they make them one size fits all, right? So I had to actually unravel one loop. So pull this around once to get it to slide over, which... Okay, so we'll get this nice and snug. I'm going to go opposite. Not that this is a road vehicle or anything where we need to balance any of this stuff, but cut down on a little vibration. And get our tool. What the heck happened? Oh, we're good still. Or did the clamp frickin' break? I think the clamp broke. I think it did. Okay. again, I like these clamps. That's what I'm familiar with. So yeah, it looks like it. I might have to take this apart. Yeah, I'm gonna take it apart. Doesn't seem right. Okay, I think I figured out what happened. So there's this band is just a big coil, right? So I think the last piece of the sleeve, or the other end of this, slipped past this collar, and that's why it just kept unraveling. So I basically took everything apart, recoiled it, put it back through the lock, and then got it back down. Now I'm able to really tighten it. I think the trick though, and what I was messing up before, is having it straight rather than just kind of going in an angle. But it seems to be tightening pretty well now. We'll see. Yeah, I can get it tight. So before it was just slipping. So then we'll give her the cut. And a yank. Didn't work. Yeah, see, it's just moving. Okay, I am not happy with how this is working out, so I'm gonna ditch this. This one's on tight, happy. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reuse this. So what you do to reuse these is you need to separate this distance. Can you even see that? Yeah, you can see. Separate this distance so that once you lock it in one of these grooves, you can then pinch it to tighten it, right? So that's what I'm gonna mess around with and work on next. Okay, so I mean, what we used to do is just use, and these are dull. I mean, I never sharpen them because I like to. I mean, they still work, but they're not sharp. Like they're not new. These are like 25 years old. So you just clamp them back down. And it looks like in that crappy tool set that I bought for this thing, it came with one of these. I've never used a crap one before, but let's see. Used one of my old coworkers' snap-on one, and that one works really well. This one seemed to be okay. Yeah, so, yep, that ain't going anywhere. So now we're on to the inner side, finally. Okay, so we're gonna stick our boot on first. And I pull it through and see. I want to see how much grease is on here, so I'm just going to rub this. I did clean the inside out, but it's not perfect. So it looks like we're good. So I'm going to put the clamp on here, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Then I know your next question is going to be, well, how the heck am I going to get this little ass thing right here like this? So what I do is grab vice grips, and there's a little tab right here and right there, and that's what I'm clamping on. So I'm just going to run these in like this until I get this nice and close to where it can clamp down. See what I'm saying? That'll make it easier for you. So I'm going to fiddle with that. That's going to be the process. Yes, I should have bought new clamps. Yeah, that's my stupid mistake, so I'm going to spend a half hour dicking around with this. So learn from mine. Okay, so I'm to the point now where this clamp has been quite a pain in the butt. I would have preferred to just go and buy a new one, but the parts stores are closed. So we've got this vice grips is pulling these together, and this one's putting clamping force on the band. So theoretically, when I release this, this should stay in place. And oh, actually I'm way beyond where I need to be. So I need to bend this tab back and loosen the force down a little bit, because it looks like, yeah, we'll just be able to bend this in place, and then once this bites, then we can crimp this, and then we're good. So that's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a pain, so yeah, see what happens here. All right, let's see if you guys can see that. So I finally got this in here. So now the next thing, and I'm going to do this off camera because I need to make sure, but what I'm going to do is we're just going to put this in place here and lock her down, just so this doesn't move. Then we're going to come in with the tool and we're going to crimp. And if I did what I was supposed to do, this should stay in place. Now, there we go. And this should lock down. Put this mamma jamma back on. We're going to put the C-clip back in. Alright, let's get this bad boy back on. Hopefully it doesn't fly across the garage. Looks like it's fully seated. Make sure it is fully seated, because you don't want this bad boy coming apart, because then you got to tear this all back down. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fill the cup with grease, we're going to fill the boot with grease, and we are going to try not to get any grease on here. We'll see how well that works. I think you get the picture. I'm going to put a lot of grease in here. I'm going to try and estimate on how much was in the package. But so I'm going to put a bunch of grease in here. I'm not going to overload it too much, but I'll probably put like 15 pumps. And then we're going to put the little ring. It's not a snap ring. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm losing my voice here. So we're going to go over here and we're going to put the cup back on the shaft. And we'll see how this goes. All right. Got the ring on here. Ready to go. Put the cup on. Get this bad boy in here. And we'll slide this down so we can get it into the groove. You're going to see me fight this real time. We'll see. I know you guys can't see, sorry about that, but okay, so the snap ring's in. Okay, you can't pull her out. So now we're going to work, got all that grease. I need to get that grease worked into those bearings. Okay. We got a bunch of grease in here, and so alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the inside of this lip, the outside, and then we're going to assemble, and we're going to try and put this guy back on. It is getting close to beer 30. It is about 9-ish here, and I am probably going to pick the rest of this up tomorrow. But I needed to get to the point where I was happy with the progress and I could stop. So we're just gonna work this down. These ones are a little bit easier. If you're gonna reuse clamps, the bigger ones are easier. mainly because you got a lot more room to work with. Oh, I need to unbend this one, so I'm going to do that and then get this on here, and then yeah, we'll probably pick it up tomorrow. Alright guys, it's a brand new day. Got the lawnmower in the background, but no fear. We got all the clamps in place, right? Everything's tight. There's no moving. The other thing that I was just doing was working the grease in. And so this is the cup that I put the grease from my grease gun in, and this is the one that came with the new boot, and I noticed that this one is significantly stiffer, so I think it's I put a lot more grease in here, or the different grease consistency. So I'm curious to see how that handles over time. I don't recall that the CV axles were clicking. It didn't look like when I looked at the ball bearings that there was any type of problems with that, but yeah, so we're gonna throw this in, get her all buttoned up. Alright, so I was able to get most of the sand out of it. There's a ton down here. All this right here was in here. So got that out. I just need to throw a little grease in there, and then I'm gonna pop the shaft back in. Alright, got her all greased up. I didn't really go hog wild, but got the shaft cleaned up too. And if we did everything correctly, see the snap ring or the rings in there, so make sure you did that. We're just going to line the shaft up. You should feel it line up with the splines, and then it should just push in. Maybe. Yep, there we go. Alright. So now I think it's just reverse order stuff, right? So put the shock back on, tie rods, ball joints, all that fun stuff. So we'll button that up real quick. The way he had it was spacer in the front side. So I'm going to do the same because I don't have the directions. I just put it back together the way it was. Press the shock a little bit, find the hole, and there is a lock nut on here, so we don't have to use a washer. Well, lock washer. 17 on here. I don't want to crank that down, but I want to make sure she's tight, and it looks like she is. So, parts guy just drove by again. Alright, so here's my hammer marks, and it looks like I skipped a little bit and hit the threads, so I tried running with the screwdriver through it to see if I can kind of flatten some of these edges out, but I'm not able to get the nut to turn on there effectively. So you got a couple of choices when you do this. You can clean them up the best you want, or the best you can, get the thread started, and then run it home with the impact and hope that you don't ruin the threads, or you can run a chase against it. I think I'm going to see if I can easily find one and try the chase, so see what happens. Alright, so looked at the internet, and it looks like the threads on these are 12mm by 1.25, which I do not have. So what I typically do when I don't have the correct thread, just grab a little small file, and I'll knock these edges down, right? So kind of soften them a little bit, and then put a little bit of a lubricant on here. Okay, and then we use the nut, and we're not trying to force it. Well, we're kind of gonna, but what I'm gonna do is use my hand, and I can feel it going past. So I'm just going to work it back and forth like if you're tapping, and then once I can get it to kind of spin freely, we'll go in and out, and then yeah, it'll mangle the threads, I'm sure, a little bit, but we're just trying to get past that so we can get into this good material. You can probably also just file that down even more, but I'm lazy, so I'm just going to use the impact. But yeah, it should hold just fine. If you're concerned about it, replace the ball joint or get a proper thread tap tool. Let's see how this does. Oh yeah, this is working pretty good. I don't think the threads are mangled at all. This is going in nice and easy, so I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, the ball joint's spinning. So what's going on here is the threads are obviously making it difficult, so the ball joint's spinning. So I'm just going to put a little pressure on here. Sucked her down nice, so yeah, just throw a jack underneath there, put a little pressure right here, pinches, zipper down, golden. Got all the nuts back on, cotter pins in as well. The last step before we put the wheel on, is to clean the crap off of here first. And I just had these off, but if you didn't, I would probably put some grease in here. In here, not in here. All right, we got our Axel nut. I might get lucky. All right. And then I think you guys can figure out how to put the wheel back on, right? So that was pretty easy. Not easy. It was challenging. I think it's doable. Anybody can do this. You just have to be okay with ruining things, breaking things, and then finding creative ways or just replacing parts. So yeah, let's button her the rest of the way up, and then we'll take her for a little test pound. But yeah. Well, she's done. I'm happy with the results. So I think the next order of business, just take her for a little quick test spin. Dang, she looks good. Well, I can't find my my mount for my head mount, so unfortunately I can't take you guys on for the test drive, but it turned out good. Really happy with the results. Let's check out the install. Everything's nice and happy. I don't hear any clicking. So yeah, this is absolutely something that you guys can do. Have the confidence, you can do it. If you have questions, post them in the comments. There's a big community out there, people that love these machines, and they're willing to help you. So good luck. Thank you.